Imagine someone reading through a list of every Google search you've ever done.
There are things that can be misinterpreted or that could somehow shed a bad light or shed a false light on somebody. You know, you may just be interested in a certain topic, but it may associate you with a topic like terrorism or something like that. If you're doing a school report on that, that would be tough if you ultimately found yourself on, say, some TSA watch list because it ended up getting to the TSA.
Yeah, but isn't a search done on Google completely anonymous?
It depends. If you're signed in, it's definitely not anonymous. If you're not signed in, that search will at least be connected to your IP address, which is the unique address of your computer on the network.
Privacy advocates say the digital footprints we leave behind, from cell phones, GPS devices, and search engines, just to start, have created a huge array of targets for prying eyes. Not just from marketers and hackers, but also the government and law enforcement officials pursuing terrorists and other criminals.
Police, don't move! Don't move!
The Fourth Amendment protects citizens from unreasonable search and seizure. But the government has argued that it doesn't protect data handed over to a third party, like Google.
Can the government tell Google it wants, it demands all the information that Google has collected from any particular person who's done searches?
I believe that if you look at some of the examples of prosecutions and divorce actions there, that the answer would be yes. That because of something called the third-party doctrine, our Fourth Amendment law doesn't apply to a lot of things that you do online.
In fact, the Electronic Frontier Foundation estimates that Google is subpoenaed in lawsuits, criminal cases, and intelligence investigations tens of thousands of times a year. Though it sometimes fights these requests, Google is compelled to reveal its users' information in some cases. The company declined to tell us how often that happens.
People are treating Google like their most trusted friend. Should they be?
Well, I think judgment matters.
Eric Schmidt is Google's CEO.
If you have something that you don't want anyone to know, maybe you shouldn't be doing it in the first place. But if you really need that kind of privacy, the reality is that search engines, including Google, do retain this information for some time. And it's important, for example, that we are all subject in the United States to the Patriot Act. It is possible that that information could be made available to the authorities.
But Eric Schmidt says protecting user privacy is Google's top priority.
Where does all my search info go?
Well, first place, we have all our privacy policies are fully disclosed on our websites, and it's all written down very, very carefully. The most important thing we do is that after 18 months, the search information that you entered is so-called anonymized. It's literally gotten rid of, and we can't go back and track it back to you.
The data may seem anonymized, but if you combine it with enough other data, you can develop a pretty good profile of people, particularly, say, people in rural areas where there may not be that many internet users.
That's what happened in 2006, not with Google, but with AOL. In an attempt to aid scholars, AOL released a huge sample of anonymized search data, apparently without realizing it could be used to deduce the identities of users.
I had no idea. I couldn't find my own searches if I tried.
People like Candace Carpenter of Brooklyn. She had done AOL searches involving her legal work, her daughter's interests, and her family history. Much to her surprise, that supposedly anonymized data was enough to lead us straight to her.
I don't like the thought that my daughter's going to be evaluated based on searches I'm doing, but I can see that that could happen, and I certainly don't want people being able to find my daughter.
Google has not had a similar incident.
Right now, Google hasn't harmed anyone, doesn't really generate nightmares or tragedies, but who's to say what Google's going to be like in 5 or 10 years?